Welcome back to another edition of the Rossetti and Stewart Podcast. Well, last week we were in the Media Hub, right near Market Square, but today we're coming to you not live because we'll be posting this a little bit later, but from the Center for Media Innovation here at Point Park at the West Penn building. Yeah, took me a little bit to get down here because McKees Rocks Bridge traffic, stuff like that. But yeah, today we have a guest on though. And we have Chase Parry on. So, yeah, thank you. Perry, we'll go. But anyways, thank you for coming on.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you guys for having me. It'll be cool to see what kind of content we come up with today. I think, it's going to be fun. Yeah, but thank
Justin, how's your day been so
far? It's
far?
Been great. Like you said, bro, I'm coming from Bridgeville, so you already know there's traffic there.
That's pretty much where I came, Canonsburg.
Oh, Canonsburg. My grandma lives out there. Did you go to Canamac?
No, my brother actually did.
Where'd you go?
When I lived here, USC. But,
Upper St. Clair.
Yeah, when I was really young. I moved to Michigan when I was like 10.
Oh, okay, okay.
When I was really young, like elementary, middle school. Yeah.
Okay, fair enough. But otherwise, though, I'm doing pretty good, though. What about you, though?
I'm doing good. We were talking about it before the podcast. Did some pickup hockey today.
Okay, cool.
Yeah,
Cool.
But it was a lot of fun today. Made some good deeks. It was a lot of fun. Yeah.
Now, were you playing with him?
He wasn't there today, but that's how I met him. Yeah.
Sweet.
We're at our RMU stick time. Yeah, just having fun.
Okay. So how long have you known him for?
Well, like a week.
A little longer, probably.
Yeah, 2 weeks.
That's about fair.
Yeah.
We've been texting and stuff.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
I saw like he had like a really nasty wrist shot, and I just said like, dude, do you play? And then when I found out he played in the USPHL, I was like, yeah, we have a podcast. Like, here's my number. Like, and we went from there. But got
to start somewhere.
Yeah. No, but anyways, you gonna get into quick hitters and stuff? Yeah,
we can. We'll just do it. We'll keep it real brief, though. So brief. Excuse me, I misspoke there. But we'll keep it real brief here. My quick hitter will be Nikola Jokic. I don't know if you guys have seen, but he's been a monster all playoffs long in the NBA. He's pretty much averaged a triple-double the entire playoff run for Denver. And him, Jamal Murray, and the rest of the squad pretty much took care of the Lakers in a sweep. Every game was close. But at the end of the day, Jokic, the Joker. I'm really misspeaking.
Joker the Joker.
And Jamal Murray, he's turned back the clock to 2020 bubble. Jamal Murray played lights out the series in particular, and now they're on to the NBA Finals for the first time in franchise history. And go figure, it was the same day that Carmelo Anthony announced he was retiring from the NBA. The guy that got the Nuggets back on the map after a couple down years. I found it full circle. The other 15, the two of their best players of all time both have worn the number 15. That same day, you have Jokic, who's probably going to go down, if they win a championship, as the greatest Nugget of all time. Come full circle, and he's now the Nuggets are in the finals. Back-to-back MVP. He probably could have won a third one this year. I thought I would have voted for him for 3 straight years. I know people were not really crazy about that, but the point remains, dude right now is the best player in the NBA. It's about time people give him the respect he deserves. I mean, people forgot during that 2-year stretch he had no Murray. I think he got hurt, and then you had Michael Porter Jr. deal with serious back issues too. So people criticizing him for those last couple playoff runs. He's missing his 2 best players, so I don't know what else you want him to do though. So I'm glad they finally got over the hump. It's about time people give him respect, and shout out to Nikola Jokic. That's my quick hitter for the week.
Yeah, and plus, too, I do want to talk a little bit about that, too. If you take him off that team last year, that team doesn't make the playoffs.
No.
At all.
No,
but, I've said it before. I've said it last podcast. I'll say it again. His 3-year stretch, if you break it down, is one of the best in NBA history.
As far as, it is.
I remember we were talking about Russell Westbrook averaging a triple-double, how crazy that was. Mm-hmm. Now we have a center who's averaging, in his 3-year stretch, 9 assists, but that's you got him averaging practically a triple-double as a center. There's not one center that's ever done that in NBA history. And here's the thing, if he caps off, the championship this year, wins Finals MVP, then all of a sudden it's him not winning the MVP doesn't even mean anything anymore.
No, it doesn't.
Because he just proved himself, and he already has proved himself in my eyes. So
no, I agree.
Yeah. What do you think about it, Chase?
I agree. Jokic hasn't gotten the respect he deserves. I mean, coming from Denver, not the biggest market, not the most talked about hype team, I think people are just waiting for him to get the job done in the playoffs, and he's doing that. He's showing it right now, and I think he's going to get the job done this year.
Yeah, me too. I think like whoever comes out of the East is like I think Denver's winning.
I agree. I do. I think Miami. They've been on a great run. Just real quick about talking about Miami, but they don't have the firepower to match up with Denver and Boston. They're too hit or miss. I do think Boston would be the better team. They would obviously be the team I would say it's most likely to be Denver, but right now I think Denver is firing on all cylinders. Took care of business against the Timberwolves. Pretty much dismantled the Suns and took care of business against the Lakers too. So I think this final series will probably be their most challenging series in the entire playoffs because Boston is very scrappy and Miami's scrappy too. Regardless of talent, the coach Eric Spoelstra is arguably the best coach in basketball, so they're gonna have to worry about that should Miami win tonight. So just a lot going on right now in basketball as far as that goes. But I don't know if you guys have anything else to add about Jokic. We can move on to another quick hitter.
Yeah, we can go to the next quick hitter.
Yeah,
so now going to the NHL side of things, I can't remember in recent time at least. It looks like Vegas is gonna move on to the finals. I think we can all assume that.
Up for you.
And if they do, it's the two best players in the series, in my opinion, at least star-wise, like popularity-wise, they're Jack Eichel for Vegas and Matthew Tkachuk for the Panthers, and they're both from the U.S., which it's really rare for U.S. players, I think, usually to be the best players on an NHL team, let alone playing in the Stanley Cup Finals, both for their respective teams being from the U.S. So just really good for the U.S. and just talks about how good the hockey in the U.S. is getting.
Yeah, and there's been a jump, too. I don't know if you've seen the statistic. I think almost 20% of the league's from the U.S. now.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we were talking about Pittsburgh hockey, though. Like, where do you see USA hockey going?
Yeah, for sure. I think it's definitely getting better than it used to be, whereas it used to be mainly Canada, obviously. But not just the U.S. I think other countries are getting a lot better, too, like besides Canada. Like, you got a lot of Swedes, a lot of Czechs, a lot of Russians, and they're not just like role players. They're like some of the best players in the game today. So, yeah, that's good for hockey, I think.
Yeah, I remember like even Nikita Kucherov had the 128-point season, and Pasternak's from the Czech.
Yeah,
you have Draisaitl's from Germany.
Yeah, that's another one.
Yeah, if you think about your top scorers, you got Kucherov's up there, Draisaitl's up there, McDavid's up there. So that's and Pasternak. That's 4 different countries right there. So, yeah, I think, we were talking about the pace of the game before we got into it, but, we were saying, it's a different game now, and it's even trickled down into, levels he's playing at and, kids
definitely,
younger.
Definitely.
These players are now playing at a quicker and more skilled level than they used to.
Yep.
Yeah, I would just say I think it's cool that 2 American players are going to be headlines in the Stanley Cup Final. We were talking about last week on the podcast how the NHL, we all know it's a bunch of Canadian guys from Russia, overseas. You have Germany, like you mentioned, but there's not that there's a lack of representation in America. There's still some American players in there, but as far as people of color, and then just forget that, just Americans in general, the sport kind of I don't want to say lacks star power, but we're seeing it here in the final. You're gonna finally have that, and hopefully the NHL, I know they're trying there's a whole bunch of issues with equipment and inner city stuff. I get all that, but hopefully this is a step forward, and maybe we can see more Americans. I know that sounds really messed up to say in a sense, though. More Americans, less diversity.
You ethnocentrist.
I know, right? But I think it's the case here because soccer's the same way. You have the best players are international, whether it's Messi, Ronaldo, Mbappe from France. Those guys are not from the U.S. And I think if the NHL, I know we had Patrick Kane. He's probably one of the biggest U.S. guys. Correct me if I'm wrong, though. But yeah, I think it's good. We see Jack Eichel. I remember I followed him. I think he was in the same draft as McDavid.
He was number 2 overall. Yeah.
Buffalo. I remember he was hyped up too. I know McDavid was the ultimate prize, but he was considered the good consolation prize. Yeah, and I'm glad he's in the position now to finally win a Stanley Cup. So
he's doing really good too. 16 points already in the playoffs. But that kind of leads me to my quick hitter. I'll just say it quick. Matthew Tkachuk, we were talking about him already. He had 3 game-winning goals in that out of 4 games. That's my quick hitter. That's just absolutely nuts.
Yeah.
And he's not gonna. McDavid's the Hart, but he was in the running for the Hart too with 109 points. And Hockey Reference has like a stat called point shares too. It's almost, I wouldn't say it's like WAR and AV. It's not as valuable as that, but it kind of takes account of goals scored, how much like offense you provide for your team, and defense too. And he was like top 5 in the league in point share. So it just shows you like even Austin Matthews last year, like these American players are starting to step up, and it's cool to see.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, but no, about Matthew Tkachuk though, like the Game 2 celebration. What did you see it, Justin?
I missed it. I did not see it.
Did you see it?
Yeah, he does some crazy stuff. Just always showing his passion, his competitiveness. It's awesome being a fan.
Yeah,
of the NHL.
It's crazy.
Game
too.
2?
Yeah, so Game 1 he started like dancing around at the end of the four overtime game, and then in the next game he hits another game winner. And the first thing he does is say, "Well, let's leave." Like he just like points.
Oh
to
yeah,
the
I
door.
saw that.
You saw that, yeah.
Yeah, that was the Game 2 you said, right?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yep.
yeah. Okay, yeah, that's interesting. That is so. Like, didn't they leave in Game 1 too? Did he score the game winner in the 4 overtime game?
He did, yeah.
Yeah.
And then they just leave. They didn't even like celebrate.
No, that's the one. He celebrated like crazy.
Okay.
And he started taunting the fans, and then the second game,
Yeah.
he just walked out. He was like, I got all my celebration out in the last game. Time to get on the exercise bikes. Which did you hear? Like they went on the exercise bikes after that game.
Yeah, I'm watching it now on my phone. Yeah, you're right. He just like walked out. That is quite the celebration, though.
Yeah.
Speaking, I do want to say though. So that reminded me. So you probably recall, but I think the Penguins were playing the Red Wings in the regular season, and some guy scored a goal. He like did the gritty on the ice. I was just like, come on, dude.
Yeah, I can't remember who did it, but I remember.
It was
seeing
Wallman.
that.
It was Wallman.
Oh, okay, yeah. Yeah.
I didn't even know you could pull that off on the ice. I figured he'd fall, but I mean, you know.
Yeah, but the NHL guys are just such good skaters. Like it's probably easier for them to walk than skate, or skate than walk at this point.
Yeah, fair
They're
enough.
just always on the ice.
Fair enough.
Speaking of that, like I did pick up basketball after I played hockey, and I was just so used to playing hockey that like I felt like behind on basketball.
Yeah.
Because like I don't know, it just feels so different doing a different sport.
See, I was the exact opposite. Like I remember a friend of mine. We used to. He had one of his birthday parties at the Isoplex in South Point, and I never
the rink rats, baby.
I never skated before, so like I remember trying to skate. It was an absolute disaster. I kept falling. Like I'd make like one or two like skate like cuts, whatever. I'd fall, and then it really wasn't until the end of the party where I started like figure out like how to skate, and it was actually pretty fun after a while. But that was like 12 years ago, so I'm probably back to square one now, unfortunately. But it was a fun experience for like 30 minutes, like when I finally did get together though. But I was always basketball guy, and like that was more the national sport for me because obviously, you know, it was more accessible, and like all you need is basketball. Hockey, you need like hundreds of dollars, maybe even thousands nowadays, and equipment. So obviously. My mom didn't have that kind of finances.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that's the one downfall of hockey.
That's what I was gonna say too earlier. You want to continue?
Yeah, go ahead. You're good.
Yeah, I think that's the one area that hockey we need to see an improvement in is just like it being available for kids who come from families that are not as fortunate.
Right.
It's a lot. It takes a lot of commitment and sacrifice from the parents of the child who wants to play, obviously. I think equipment prices going down would help. And then, just like ice time and stuff is really expensive, too. I think if there's a way they could work around that, too, it would really help the game get more people involved in it who come from less fortunate families.
Now, how much does ice time cost, like, where you guys skate at?
Yeah, so the stick time's only $10.
Yeah, it really depends, like, if you're like obviously like if you play high level, you usually want to work with like an instructor, like a trainer who has experience. But if you just want to like go play pickup or like stick time where there may be a lot of people there, so it might not be as beneficial as like having like a private lesson on private ice. But it's not too bad, but it's usually worth it for high level players to have like their own ice, so they don't have to like deal with waiting to shoot and stuff like that.
Fair enough.
Having room to skate around,
Yeah, no, it's just like it just like hockey's just money. It just like so
Yes.
much like
Yeah.
I remember like trying to rent out the ice
It
too,
is,
or
man.
like
It
joining a
is.
league. It's crazy.
Yeah, it is. It
And
really
like
is.
plus I remember playing like the 1 year in high school. It was like you had to pay for USA hockey.
Yes.
And you had to like pay for your equipment, and like you also had to pay to actually play too.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
it's like
Oh,
yeah,
my.
it's just so
it is.
much.
And then at least for me, like my level of travel and
Oh,
being
for
gone,
you, it's crazy.
having to be absent from school almost every Friday, and having to argue with teachers and stuff. Yeah.
You know, it's funny. I never so like when I was in high school, like people, like guys, you know, whether it was football practice, you know, basketball, hockey, like whatever, golf. I never understood up until college like how much of a grind that is to be a student athlete, and like
Yeah,
just
definitely.
the sacrifice and like time put in. Like I remember I was at CV for high school football. They'd like show up at 6 a.m. before like school started.
Yes, man.
And like that's
Yeah.
you're doing like workouts, that kind of stuff, and not to mention you have to actually go to school on top of that all day
Yes,
long.
yeah.
And then after that, they're doing like lifting. They might be doing more practice, and that's all throughout the week. And like, you know, that's the thing about sports now. I think I've noticed it's like year round now. It's not like seasonal.
Yes.
Like
Yeah.
you're always constantly. Like we just saw the NFL just ended 3 months ago, the season, and the guys they're already back
Yeah.
trying to work on this year. So it's just one of those things. It's a grind. It's nonstop, and I salute every student athlete out there. I really respect it because it's not easy. And then you have to maintain life and school on top of that.
Social life.
I mean,
yeah.
my gosh.
Yeah.
I will add on top of that too. So in high school I played sports, but in college I didn't.
Okay.
If you look at my college grades compared to high school grades,
Probably a lot
there's
better.
no comparison.
Yeah,
Oh,
no.
I was an amazing college
Oh,
student
yeah.
compared to high school student. Like
Yeah.
it just like
You just don't have the time. You just don't.
Yeah, I can speak about that myself. Like the 1 year I was hurt for most of the year, my grades went from like really average to making honor roll and
Oh,
stuff.
wow.
It makes a huge difference
Yeah.
having time to just focus on school.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Now, like for you guys though, when you practiced for hockey, how much time would you say you devoted to just that sport alone?
Oh man. Well, we probably have different answers for that,
Okay.
obviously, but for me, like I've been playing hockey since I was like probably like 5 years old.
Oh,
On
wow.
6 years, like really young. I started
All
out. Yeah, it's a big commitment. I mean, like during the season, obviously you scale on more. Like off season, more of like weight training and trying to get stronger. But yeah, it's pretty much a year-round thing now. Like especially when you play at a really high level. But yeah, it's a ton of time commitment for me and like my family, my parents when I'm younger, having to drive me around everywhere. Yeah, it's crazy having to travel to go play in a tournament in Canada or wherever. Yeah.
see I was my headset like went off and on.
Is it good
so,
now?
Yeah, it
Okay,
it
that
just like
was-
threw me off for a
That was
second.
weird. Yeah.
It felt like it gave me like vertigo or something. Anyways, yeah. But I was gonna say, my schedule was different because he was AAA. Like
Okay.
that's like
Yeah.
the highest of highs. So I was like lower. So like for me, I didn't practice or travel as much. We still traveled. Like I went to Cleveland, Washington D.C. and stuff like that. But you know, I still traveled a decent amount. So there was a lot of time devoted to it. But the problem was like for me too, like when summer came around, I'd still do 3-on-3 hockey too, because they'd have like the 3-on-3
Yeah.
tournaments and like Ironman tournaments. So
Yep.
I'd do those, but it was tough to get on the ice every day because I played baseball too and stuff like
Yep.
that.
Oh,
And,
yeah, I forgot about that.
and plus it was just like summer too. Like as a kid, you just want to kind of like just
Yeah, chill.
relax
Well,
a little
that's
bit.
chill
Yeah.
from
No,
Hang out for
yeah.
yeah.
That should be your time to relax. You have 3 months off.
Yeah.
I mean, but you were probably focused on hockey, like you were
Yeah.
saying.
Yeah.
Dang.
But yeah, for you
Definitely.
though, I do want to ask. Like, I want to get right into like this part. You played for San Diego Sabers last year.
Yeah, for most of last season, I started out in Vernal, Utah, and then I ended up in San Diego.
Yeah, how was your experience in like hockey in San Diego? How was that?
Yeah, it was really different from anything I've experienced because like my whole life I played Michigan and then Utah for like a year or two. So yeah, it was really nice living out in San Diego and meeting a lot of new people, and yeah, I made a lot of friendships this year and people I still talk to almost every day. So it's awesome. Just in hockey, like the camaraderie between guys, just it's special compared to any other sport or anything. I think it's awesome.
It's such a team sport too.
Yeah,
Like
the
like,
chemistry off ice.
yeah, I just like I remember like the little mini hockey tournaments you do in the
Yeah,
hallways. Yeah,
yeah.
that's any
Yeah,
cool
man.
stories like that.
Yeah. mean, I remember a kid breaking a window the one year when we played mini sticks. That was really funny. That comes to the top of my head.
Yeah. But how was it like moving to going from Michigan to Utah? Did your family go with you too? Or
no, so in junior hockey, there's this, it's called billeting with a family, billet families. You basically let you stay at their house and they feed you and really just treat you like a child of theirs, the parents. And I was lucky. I got with a really good family both years for juniors, and it's great. It's almost like having a second family now.
Now, I know you mentioned San Diego and Utah. Has hockey afforded you to travel out of the states too?
Yeah, to different countries. Yeah, like for example, probably one of my best hockey memories is there's this big tournament for peewees. So that's 10, 11-year-olds. I played in the Quebec tournament, which I forget the number of fans, but they play at this rink called Videotron or whatever it's called. It's literally almost like an NHL amount of fans for this tournament, and it's crazy going to Quebec and playing there in front of so many fans. That it's probably my best hockey memory ever.
And their fans are crazy too.
Oh yeah,
they get
Quebec.
into it.
Yeah, it's so cool.
Was it nerve-wracking at all?
A little bit, yeah. Being only, I'm trying to remember, 11, 12. It was, it was something I've never experienced, and I'll never forget it. It was awesome, man.
Yeah, Quebec's definitely, that's definitely a hockey city. It would be cool to see a team go back there.
Yeah, I could definitely see that happening in the near future.
Yeah, and I know you said you wanted to talk more about outside of your hockey, but I do want to ask one more question too. It's just who's been the best player you've played against?
There's so many, man.
Name them all. Then.
So that I played with or against?
Both.
Both.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
So obviously coming from Michigan, there's so many great players I played with and against. Off the top of my head, I've played with and against some. There's a lot of kids from Michigan actually who I know, friends with, who actually ended up on the national development team, the U.S. national development team. But yeah, just to name some names, Aiden Herezchuk, he was drafted 3rd round, I believe, by Carolina. He's one of Boston College's bestie, or Denver, I can't remember. And then Cutter Gauthier, I played against him. He's actually a birth year younger than me, so he's playing up. He's Boston College's leading scorer. He was the 5th overall pick in the last NHL draft. Mm-hmm. And then a fun fact, because your audience is probably mostly got people from Pittsburgh. Mm-hmm. When I was younger growing up, I played with Logan Cooley. He was the 3rd overall pick in the last draft. Yeah, he's an amazing player, and I just thought your audience, that's probably what they would know and think of.
Yeah, he was around West Mifflin area, right?
Yeah.
He's a star. He's gonna be a star.
He's gonna be a franchise guy for the Coyotes soon.
Yeah, hopefully depends. Arizona, they didn't give a thumbs up on the new stadium.
Yeah, I
plan.
think he announced he's going back actually to Minnesota. He was one of the leading scorers for NCAA D1. I think he's the 2nd. He was a runner-up in the Hobie Baker finalists. I think he's going back for another year there at Minnesota. They lost in the national championship, actually.
Yeah, Minnesota, Denver. You bought a Boston College. These schools are all hockey.
Oh yeah,
hockey territory.
Yeah. Michigan Wolverines too. They're really good at hockey.
Yeah, they're probably they're one of the best for sure.
That guy Fantilli's supposed to be the 2nd.
Yeah, Adam
pick.
Fantilli.
Yeah, he's gonna be good too. I did see him celebrate like a goal motion after scoring an empty net.
Yeah, the Austin Matthews.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, but but we could get right back into the NHL playoffs. But I did want to talk a little bit about hockey because
there's so much stuff I could talk about, and we could be here all day.
Yeah, I do want to ask one more thing too. What's been the highlight of your hockey career? Have you had one moment where it's this is incredible?
Yeah, so there's a lot I could say, but I would say for me personally, when I made 16U Victory Honda as like an underager. So I was basically playing a year up, almost AAA. So yeah, we were like I think we were 20th in the country that year. I was the only player for my birth year on that team. Everyone else was a year older. So yeah, I was coached by an NHL Stanley Cup champion, Doug Litster. He's coached a lot of great players like Alex DeBrincat and like he coached Paul Bissonnette. He's on the I don't know if you probably know.
Of course.
Spin Chicklets. Yeah, he coached him in the OHL. So that was a big deal playing for him and playing a year up basically in Michigan AAA. I never could have imagined that.
Yeah, it's crazy how far like Alex DeBrincat too.
Yeah,
like, him like we could talk about Ottawa too. Like they have Brady Tkachuk, Alex DeBrincat,
Josh Norris. He actually played for Oakland Junior Grizzlies, which is one of the teams I played for when I was growing up.
Yeah, and I saw like one of my friends goes to North Dakota, and there's 3 players on North Dakota on the Senators, which is pretty cool too. Yeah. I think Josh Norris is one of them, right? I think so.
He went to Michigan actually, but there are some.
Yeah. I'm trying to think. I know Bernard Docker went to North Dakota.
I've heard of him.
Yeah, and then there was a couple other players too, but Ottawa though, they got like Tim Stutzla too, like another German player.
Yeah, they're gonna be good, I think, going forward. Obviously, they got a lot of talent, young talent.
They got Brady Tkachuk too.
Yeah,
they're gonna be stacked. Yeah. Justin, how do you feel about the Senators?
I'd have to agree with what you said.
Defer to me. I would say. Yeah, their forwards are pretty stacked already. I'd say where they need to improve is probably defense and goaltending, obviously. They got Chabot. He's a really good defenseman, but I think outside of him, they need to get a little better if they want to be like a Stanley Cup contender. But their forwards are really stacked, really deep. They're good.
Yeah, they're gonna be good for years.
And they picked up Giroux too. He's a great player. You guys would know from him being on Philly with the rivalry between Pittsburgh.
Don't even get me started. The 2011 or the 2012 playoffs where he just absolutely went off.
He's a great player.
Yeah, they had him and Yager and all those players. They just
Wayne Simmons, Voracek. Yeah, those were the days, man.
Yeah, even Mike Richards too was.
He was special. Yeah, he was special.
Yeah, no, that Flyers team was.
They were good.
And then the year before they lost to the Blackhawks in the championship game. Yeah. But no, and who would be your pick this year though to win the cup out of the 2 teams, or 3 teams for now?
So between Vegas or Florida, because I think Vegas, it's almost a lock now. But it's tough. I think it's going to be a 6 or 7 game series. Honestly, it's really close. I'm going to say Florida. Maybe a little bit of wishful thinking, but yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to go Florida too, because Bob's had an incredible playoffs.
Yeah,
I mean,
definitely.
Think about all the players that have stepped up too, like Reinhardt stepped up.
Anthony Duclair's been awesome, coming off an Achilles injury too. That's insane.
And you know how hockey, you need your legs to drive in the ice and stuff like that. And but Matthew Tkachuk had 109 points this year.
Yeah, insane.
And then their defense too, like Brandon Montour was absolutely insane.
Aaron Ekblad's awesome player.
Yeah, so I agree with you. I definitely think like Florida, but like you said, I think like
I wouldn't be surprised either way. I think it's going to go down to the wire.
Yeah,
it's going to be a good series.
Yeah, with the goaltenders too, like Aiden Hill.
Yeah,
his goals against is 196 right now.
Yeah. So it's going to be a good one.
What do you think?
I'm going to say Florida just because they beat Boston, who was one of the best regular season teams of all time. And then he took down Toronto, who's another good team. And Carolina, those are probably the 3 best teams. So, Vegas, they had a good year or 2. I understand that. But, I mean, if you can beat all 3 of those teams, I think you're more than capable of beating Vegas. So, like you guys said, I think it's going to be a close series because in Vegas, you got to respect them too. But I think ultimately Florida wins in 6 or 7, like you said.
Yeah. I do want to say something too. Like what my brother and I were talking about this. So Connor McDavid, Draisaitl, they get eliminated.
Yep.
all the stars for the Leafs. Matthews. I mean, Toronto's cursed, but you got Matthews. Nylander had an amazing playoffs. Mitch Marner. Yep. You got all these players. You pick up Ryan O'Reilly too. I know he didn't have a great year, but he's a solid player too. Yep. You got a stacked team. They lose. If you look, the Avalanche lost to a second-year expansion team. I mean, they have McKinnon and Rantanen and, the whole shebang. Cale Makar, probably the best skating defenseman I've ever seen. But, if you look, other than Matthew Tkachuk, there's not a ton of star power like a Connor McDavid still alive, or like a David Pastrnak, or a Nikita Kucherov. And it's just I don't know, we were just talking about that. I wanted to bring it up, see what you guys thought. Yeah,
in previous years, too, we were talking off air about no Crosby, no Ovechkin. It's just, it's a little, I think it's just a sign that, the young players coming in the NHL are so good, and the league's in good hands when those guys are going to be gone. But, time's just flying by.
Yeah, really
thinking about that.
I can actually parlay that to the NBA when you think about
other sports too.
Jokic and Jimmy Butler, potentially those are going to be your two best players in the finals. And you think LeBron's not in it, Steph Curry, Joe and James Harden, all the guys you're accustomed to seeing, Kevin Durant, the guys we all grew up with,
your childhood favorites.
They're not going to be in the finals, and it's once again you got new blood. I know Miami's been in the finals a bunch of times, but it's an entirely different team than they've had. Different. And then the Nuggets too, first time in franchise history. So we're seeing it here with Giannis, too. He won a championship a couple years ago in Milwaukee. I mean, the league, they have a lot. There's a lot of good players, and it's I almost see it. I'm sure you can attest to it with hockey. It's a changing of the guard. You see a lot of the guys that are dominating the NBA now. It's no coincidence that they're not American born. Giannis is from Greece.
Definitely.
Joel Embiid's from Africa, or I think it's Cameroon.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And Jokic is from Serbia. So those are arguably the three best players, and none of them are American. I'm trying to think. Honestly, I'm trying to think of the best American player right now. It might be Kevin Durant or Steph Curry, but
AD.
Anthony. Okay, that's a good one. Anthony Davis. But I mean, really,
you're splitting hairs.
I am. I mean, not to mention Luka Doncic is from Slovenia. So those are four great players right there. They're not from America, and I think like you said with hockey too. It's just we need more diversity in teams. Also, besides players too, I think it's really key. And I'm a guy. I don't consider myself a casual. I like seeing new teams in it. I'm not a hardcore NBA. I don't have a favorite team because there's not one in Pittsburgh. But I think I root for the quote unquote underdogs or guys that don't get the respect from the media as much. And I like seeing Nuggets and Heat. That's a change of pace.
Yeah,
we've seen 1,000 LeBron, Steph
Golden
Curry.
State,
it's kind of old. It's old at this point, and I just think hopefully some of these other teams like Memphis, hopefully they get their act together. I'd love to see them make a run here too.
Yep.
Even Houston, I know they're terrible right now, but they got Ime Udoka. He's a really good coach. I think he'll turn things around there in Houston. I think they'll be more respected in the future.
Yeah.
You got other teams too. The Spurs are gonna have Victor Wembanyama.
Oh yeah.
I'm telling you this. Pistons too. I'm telling you, Ivy and Cunningham. That's gonna be a great backcourt.
It's a nice backcourt, but Cunningham has to stay healthy. He has barely played the past 2 years. But if he can stay healthy, that can be very lethal. And last but not least, I'm sure you're aware of who Connor Bedard is.
Oh yeah. We're talking about that.
So in the NBA, Victor Wembanyama is the equivalent of Connor Bedard this year.
That's accurate.
He's been hyped up really.
I'd say even probably a little more hype than Bedard.
Well, yeah.
In my opinion.
No,
but then against NBA compared to the NHL, it's always going to be a little more hype.
But, regardless, both those guys are highly touted prospects, and I think if the Spurs are going to draft them, let's be real, just like the Blackhawks.
Yeah, it's...
But when the Spurs
Bedard's not 7'4" either.
Well,
so.
yeah. Well,
yeah.
But when they do draft them, the Spurs, they have young talent, too. I know no one wants to talk about that either, but you add Wembanyama... The Spurs do a great job.
Keldon Johnson too, and
you do no.
You have Vassell's going to be a good player. So
and the Spurs are going to be they're going to be there too. They're coached well as well. So there's some teams here on the NBA. Look out for the next 4 or 5 years. They're on the upswing, and it's going to be interesting to see how it shapes up here though. But that's all I wanted to say regarding
one thing. That came to my mind about that is comparing the two. Bedard is going to the Blackhawks, it looks like.
Guaranteed.
Yeah, it's guaranteed. We were talking about how that might not be the best situation for him, whereas Victor, I can't. I'm gonna totally butcher it, but He's going to the Spurs with Popovich, and just their history of developing guys like bigs, especially Tim Duncan, David Robinson. I think he's in a perfect situation in my opinion, whereas Bedard, I would say it may take a little bit of time for him to live up to expectations going to Chicago, whereas they're in a complete rebuild. They're losing Taze. They obviously just lost Kaner. I think I was hoping he would go to like Anaheim if they got the first pick, but
with McTavish,
and
Terry,
all that young
Zegras.
talent. I think that would have been best for him. But I mean, he's a generational player. He's going to do amazing wherever he goes, I think.
I want to ask you this. So we've gotten the conversation about this, him with his family too. Like a lot of times we saw with Trevor Lawrence a couple of years ago, number one overall pick. So sometimes guys Trevor Lawrence wasn't on the same level as those guys though, but he was still highly thought of.
Yeah.
So like you have those guys that are like, oh, blue chip prospects, guys you have to draft, and then they come into the league and then they get off to a slow start, and it's like, we all know how like fans can be like instant gratification, and even front offices too. Like they'll move off guys really quick, too soon actually. And like we saw with Trevor Lawrence, dude had a great second year. Probably gonna trend up here in year 3 too. So my question to you is like how like compared to hockey or not hockey, how compared to football and even basketball too, because it's the same way for hockey. Like how do you view people that like kind of like label a guy a bust because he might have not had a great rookie year, or his year's off to a really slow start? Like, how do you like interpret that? Because I know you play hockey too. So.
Yeah, so I'd say for like the stars coming in, like I think the best example of hate on like or too soon for people to judge would be Jack Hughes.
I was gonna say,
that's who comes to mind.
He had like 20 points.
Yeah, this year he was awesome, but like his first year, people are really hard on him. I just think he wasn't ready like physically for the NHL yet, and yet he played as a true 18-year-old, which playing hockey, which is such a physical game, it's just there's not too many guys who can come in at age like 18, 19 and just dominate the league like McDavid. Or Crosby. There's not too many guys who can come in at that young of an age and succeed. So I think that's definitely a really good point in hockey and other sports. But yeah, it's different because in hockey, usually the guy, like, it's almost like football where they come in at an older age compared to like the NBA where there's a ton of like young, like 18-year-olds already being stars on their teams. So yeah. I don't know if you guys have anything to add on that, but
no,
that's just off the top of my head.
He took it right out of what I was going to say, because like Jack Hughes, his first 2 seasons, like I think he only reached like 40-something points. And for someone that was drafted as high as him, like it wasn't amazing, but they were really hard on him. And he actually said in post-game interviews, like, oh, look where I am at now, like practically. He had almost 100 points this year.
Yeah, I just think physically he wasn't ready for the NHL game yet, and they had him go a little too soon, but I mean, now it's looking good because of how great he's doing, and he's gonna have a great rest of his career. He's an awesome player. Even
Jaromir Jagr, though, like his first season, he only scored. I mean, I know I'm saying only 57 points
for their standards and what people's expectations.
But
are.
like Jagr's a guy, he put up 149 eventually, but he his first season, was it, 57 points? Yeah, so like, and now Jagr's probably arguably might be top 5 all time, like 6, 7 all time. Like, so I just think like, I think it's for all sports though. Like, I don't think it's as bad for hockey as it is for basketball though. I just don't know what it is. I feel like people are so hard on people like early on in careers in basketball. Like you just need to let them develop, you know?
Yeah. I think probably part of the problem is just guys coming in that young and they're already expected to be so great. Like it takes a few years usually.
Well, I was gonna say your follow up. Add your point. I think part of it's social media and like a lot of that too. It's
the
like
hype,
when like people share clips of guys like playing overseas or high school or whatever.
They
look ridiculous and insane. I think part of the problem is
unrealistic expectations.
Too, and when people start to project out onto the professional level, and people think, oh, well, he's gonna do that right off the bat, and then the X, Y, and Z league. I just think that's just so unrealistic. And I think football is the worst too, because I think football and basketball are worse than hockey. You guys can disagree, but like I see like guys come in And like this is why I think the Victor Wembanyama getting to the Spurs is so good, because the Spurs are known for being a great organization. They've had a couple down years just because they haven't had the star talent to really build up their team again. But like now that they'll have that, I expect them to be relatively good pretty soon though. But like just like you see like in the NBA and NFL, there's certain teams that they're always drafting number 1 overall.
Yeah.
And like you're never going to be in a good situation. There's a reason the Texans or whoever is drafted, because they're not good. They're just poorly run, and like you're almost. I hate making excuses for players because they do bear some responsibility too. But like you're put in the position to fail.
Yeah.
Like I'm just being real with you. I mean, now I do think Bryce Young. I think Carolina, they're a relatively stable organization, but I mean C.J. Stroud to the Texans. I mean, I'm sure he'll do good. I think he'll be a solid quarterback, but I mean we'll see. It's just one of those things. Trevor Lawrence too. Yeah. Jaguars won like 2 games the year before. Yeah. Like you're just not put in a position to like really succeed year one, and that's why I just think people need to always be patient with that.
Yep.
And like I don't know. I get annoyed when people like oh, we have to trade this guy right now. So I don't want to I don't want to be forever with this though. But like another thing is I saw like NFL mock drafts for next year, and like so Caleb Williams, he's like. We talked about Connor Bedard and Victor. Like he's next year for NFL. Like he's the next great prospect for quarterbacks. And like I'm already seeing like people saying, "Oh, Arizona should take him and get rid of Kyler Murray." And I'm just like, dude, Kyler Murray, like when he's healthy, he's like a Pro Bowl caliber quarterback. And you just sign him to a contract too, and you're talking about getting rid of him. Like that's just so insane. And it's just like. Owners, they're just so desperate for quarterbacks. They just draft whoever, and it's just like there's a reason why there's some teams. Forget NFL, like all sports. There's a reason why some teams are always bad. It's because they don't know how to draft, and they're never patient with their players.
Yeah.
So.
And another thing too is like, a lot of these players too, like Caleb Williams, like they'll over. So he's gonna be a good NFL quarterback. But then there's some players like USC guy, Oklahoma guy, like Oklahoma to USC. He gets put on a stack team and stuff. I'm not saying he's bad, but like then they overhype these players. Yeah. Like, you need to move on and get this guy.
When you're comparing him to Patrick Mahomes, I'm sorry.
Insane.
Can we pump the brakes, please?
And a lot, I think, like you were saying about social media, I think people see like highlights. Like let's say, for example, like the Zion Williamson with like all his dunks. They just like expect you to come in and immediately be like the best player in the world. Like that's not going to happen 99% of the time. It takes some time.
It does
for players to develop and really even adjust to just being a professional and like the lifestyle and the work and discipline it takes.
And it's like injuries too. Like people like get hard on people about injuries. Like if AD gets hurt, well he's still gonna be one of the greatest power forwards of all time. Zion Williamson, he's hurt constantly, but when he plays, he's an all-star. Jabari Parker was another one. Like he was, other than Andrew, he and Andrew Wiggins were the 2 best players in that draft, touted to be. Ended up being Joel Embiid, of course. Yeah. But if Jabari Parker never got hurt,
you know what's crazy? He's only 28 years old, and he's out of the league.
Yeah, but that's what happens. He had 3 season-ending knee injuries. That's gonna.
Yeah, on that subject, like who comes to mind, like on this subject, is just Derrick Rose.
Oh my god,
he's probably one of my favorite athletes ever, and he's just the perseverance and what he's been through, and he's still like playing, and he's like a solid NBA player is crazy. He's just really good role model for people going through that. That's just really tragic because like you outlined it though. He won MVP 2011, 2012 was an all-star, and then like all Tom Thibodeau had to do was just take him out the game, dude. And like they were the game was already decided, and like he went up, and then like he got hurt, and like it's like, dude, one of the biggest one-ifs in sports.
No, he is. He would have been like, so like not to go off course here, but like I've done multiple NBA 2K simulations.
Yeah,
like, he's like insane in 2K. Like he's ridiculous, and I think not that would have translated into real life though, but like he had the potential to be really good, and like honestly, he probably would have had his name up in the rafters with Jordan and Pippen. Like I think he could have been that kind of guy, and I think eventually. Because, like, once again, he's not even that old still. He's, like, 31, 32. So he could still hypothetically be playing at a high level had he stayed healthy. But, like, it's just one of those things. Like, he might have gotten the championship to Chicago. Like, I really do believe that.
I'm going to add on to that. So, do you remember in 2015 playoffs, he had the game winner against the Cleveland Cavaliers where he banked it in? Then everyone knows the reaction. It's a gift made everywhere. But if you think about it, Joakim Noah went into his prime after Derrick Rose got hurt.
Yeah.
And then you still had Carlos Boozer, who was still at the tail end of his prime in 12-13 when they broke the Heat streak, the 27-game win streak. And you also had Taj Gibson was a good player for them. Kirk Heinrich was a really, really good sixth man you can have.
Yeah.
And and on top of that, Jimmy Butler was coming into his own as well.
Yeah.
So
on that, just something that always sticks with me is I remember it was one of the years Miami with LeBron and Wade, the duo, won. I think it's the first year they won together. I was actually on vacation with my family at the Bahamas, Atlantis. Everyone knows what that is.
Heck yeah.
And it was on a yacht. I'm trying to remember the player. I think it was Mario Chalmers. And he was just talking to my dad, and my dad asked him, who do you think the best player in the league is? And this was, right after they won the chip. And he said Rose was the best player, better than LeBron. And he was his own teammate. So that'll just always stick with me.
Interesting.
And, yeah.
No, that's
crazy.
But you mentioned it though, the outline. Who would imagine if Jimmy Butler would have continued to progress in Chicago? You had Derrick Rose still in his prime. My gosh, dude, who knows?
Even Mike Dunleavy, man, and Luol Deng too. The team was stacked.
The problem though was Derrick Rose. He was a good player by that. He was still a good player at that time, but he was not the same player. It was unfortunately that was just the reality of it. And had Derrick Rose had that 2010, 2011 form on those later Bulls teams, even with Pau Gasol, those are championship caliber teams. Yeah. Heck, they almost beat Cleveland in that one round.
That's what I was telling you about, yeah.
And that was with Derrick Rose not being the same player. So, I mean, it's one of those things, man.
I know Kevin Love was out that series, though. Because remember, Kelly Olynyk did the nice little
that
pull
was a cheap
there.
shot, by
That was
the way.
really cheap, yeah. I went to a playoff game that series, Cavs versus
Celtics.
Yeah, I saw game 2 of that series. That was pretty cool.
I think that was Isaiah Thomas's first year in Boston.
Yeah, I think so. He was on the Suns before.
I think he got traded mid-season too.
Yeah, he was on the Suns.
And that's when he started to go off, and we all know the rest of that story.
Yeah, then 16-17 came around.
They were
29 points a game.
I think they were the 1 seed that year, Celtics.
Yeah, they were insane. Yeah.
And then I think he had the hip injury, and that derailed his career too.
Yeah, he and Al Horford were their two main guys that year, I think.
Al Horford was on that team.
Or was he there yet?
I don't think
because he went
was.
from the Hawks to. He may have been.
Hold on a sec.
Let me think. Because I remember him being there, and I think he was there in 16-17. Al Horford.
I'm trying. I really don't remember who was on Boston's roster.
Because that was the.
Yeah, they did really good. I know regular season.
They won 53 games.
Yeah,
so.
I knew they did really good. In that.
I'm trying to see who was on their roster.
Pretty sure they had Al Horford.
Okay, yeah. So they had Avery Bradley. Jaylen Brown was on this. I didn't even know that. And then
because he was on his last year in college.
Yeah.
Was 2015 or 16. Yeah. Because Jaylen Brown, he was on the team for California that lost to Hawaii in the first round of the tournament.
Yes.
It was a 13-4 upset.
Right. So, yeah, you had him, you had Isaiah Thomas, you had Avery Bradley, Jay Crowder, Al Horford was on the Celtics, Marcus Smart. I mean, that's a pretty solid team. That's, shoot.
Good defensive team, too.
But, Isaiah Thomas is another guy. After that year, he had that hip injury, and then, he didn't get that contract. And then, obviously, they swapped Kyrie and him from Cleveland and Boston.
Yeah.
You know how that went. But, it was just one of those things. I don't know. Is there another athlete, maybe hockey-wise, that you,
derailed by injury?
Yeah, you thought, oh, this guy could have been, really
There's
legit.
Two players for me.
Okay.
And they're still top 5. Sorry,
Orr.
Mike, I really punched it. Bobby Orr, Mario Lemieux.
Mario Lemieux.
Well, yeah, Mario with the the cancer, but yeah. That's honestly who first came to my mind was Bobby Orr.
Yeah, and if you think about Bobby Orr, though, listen to he's an 8-time Norris winner and a 3-time White winner.
I mean, he's still just so great. I'm trying to think of anyone else off the top. Yeah, Crosby with the concussions. I see.
Yeah, I was gonna throw in Crosby, not to be the homely guy here. But
he comes to the mind.
I remember. So I remember. I wasn't in the hockey back then during the Winter Classic times, but I remember hearing how significant that concussion was. And,
the Winter Classic.
He was. Yes.
my dad and brother were actually at that Winter Classic game, and it was just the biggest, most depressing thing. Luckily, I couldn't go because I had a hockey thing.
Yeah, no, but your brother Eddie mentioned it though. So he only played 41 games that year. Then
he had 66 points, right?
Yeah, it's hold on.
It was over that. Actually.
Yeah, it was 66, and then he only played 22 games the following year, and then 2012-13 was a lockout year, if I recall.
Yeah,
so
he got robbed of the Hart that year. He
finished second. Yeah,
he had the same amount of I think the same amount of points as Ovi in 8 less games, but Ovi had more goals.
Yeah, I remember that.
Mm-hmm.
So here's the thing. So now Crosby's story isn't really tragic because he did win 3 cups though. So I don't want to. I don't want to.
Healthy since that moment.
I don't want to overreact, but just for context, he essentially missed like 2 years.
Yeah,
really.
But he was his best there.
Well,
that was him in his best.
And
his prime.
And I hate doing what ifs too because that's really hypothetical though. But hypothetically, maybe the Penguins have an extra cup or two, maybe that 2-year stretch. I just wanted to throw that out there though.
I'm trying to think of anyone else off the top of my head.
I know Alex Radulov when he went back to the KHL.
Yeah,
he was supposed to be.
Yeah, he was hyped.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think any other hockey players.
NHL wise, I'm trying.
Eric
to think.
Lindros too.
Yeah, Lindros is a big one I didn't think of.
I was gonna say if you can, you have any for other sports like football or baseball even?
Oh, I got one. Connie Hawkins for basketball.
Okay.
He had that the sexual that lady lied about him raping someone. It was a whole race thing too, but he would have been a stud in basketball. Another one, Bernard King.
Okay.
Yeah.
Comes to my mind too. For baseball, I don't really think of anyone for baseball.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. Anyone in baseball had a terrible injury and they never really recovered.
It's usually the Tommy Johns on the pitchers is what I can think of, guys. I don't know.
I would throw this might not count though, but Len Bias is another guy I would think of. He died though, so but my thing was he never got to play in the NBA. And the Celtics drafted him, I think it was 86, and he was supposed to be Bird's successor. He's supposed to be the next franchise guy to carry them for the next 15 years. And he had all the makings of being a Hall of Fame level player based off what I've read. I've seen some of his game film at Maryland. He looked really good to me. And he was supposed to be Michael Jordan's next rival. That's how highly touted he was at the time. And I just remember reading the articles about him overdosing and dying, eventually, and it was just one of those things that I think that is one of the biggest what ifs in sports. Maybe who knows how the course of NBA history would change, but I don't really know if that really counts because he didn't really play. He didn't play a single game.
I'm thinking of one, Bo Jackson.
Oh, Bo.
Who obviously played in the MLB and the.
It's a great one.
Yeah, your hat kind of reminds.
Yeah. I mean, he was a two-sport athlete. I mean,
he is, probably the best athlete of all time, in my opinion. Honestly.
No, I mean,
an all-star in both sports.
Yeah,
I can't argue.
I think it was his. Yeah, I think it was his hip.
Yeah,
I can't remember
injury,
hip replacement. I think I can't remember exactly what it was, but yeah, he definitely could have played probably double the amount of time in those sports if he didn't have that really bad injury.
No, I agree.
I got a what if. What if Tim Tebow never stopped playing football? I'm just teasing.
Johnny Manziel. I remember those days.
Yeah, but Bo Jackson though, that's I mean, you ever where he breaks the bat over his head or him running
Bo
up
knows.
and down?
Bo knows.
It's crazy, absolutely crazy. I'm trying to think of baseball though,
Well, no, there really hasn't been a crazy career-ending injury. I'm trying to think of that. A guy was he was on the precipice of being a star.
I mean, the catcher from the Yankees, Munson, back in the '70s, died in a plane crash, but he already played 5 to 10 years of his career.
Yes, I'm having a hard time. Let me look this up real quick. I'm having a hard time.
I know there's so many. I bet that I'm just not off the top of my head. If we sat and really thought about it, I bet I could come up with so many good ones.
My what ifs are usually what if Babe Ruth played in today's game?
Yeah, comparing guys from different eras and
That's
one with hockey too. We could talk so much about Gretzky, Lemieux versus Crosby, McDavid. Yeah.
Oh, my brother and I talk about that. You can attest to that.
Or Jordan, obviously the GOAT debate, Jordan.
Crosby, McDavid, Lemieux, and Gretzky. Oh my gosh, it's nonstop.
Or ESPN, ESPN the GOAT. It seems like every other segment's about LeBron versus Jordan.
Oh, yeah, you're not wrong there. You're not wrong.
Meanwhile, Gretzky's the GOAT of everything. That's just my thought.
Yeah, you can argue.
I mean, if you count WHA, 3,000 point scorer, and I mean, think about it.
Yeah.
If you were to like take his stick away, or not take his stick away, but what's the word? If you take away his goal production and just
his assist,
assist,
he still is
yeah.
cleared the all-time wings. Yeah, that's crazy.
It's
man.
just crazy to think about, and like he had 11 straight seasons where it would have been a 100-point season without goals.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah, I was just looking on the 5 biggest what-ifs in MLB history as far as talent goes, and like none of the guys you would have heard of. Like, it's the number one guy though was let me pull it up. So it was Brian Taylor. So he was the first pick in '91 by the Yankees, and he was supposed to be the next great pitcher. And let's see, he was labeled the best high school pitcher ever
by
most scouts. And then his career pretty much got derailed when he was defending his brother in a bar fight. And like it took so his surgery, I guess from
Tommy John?
No, it wasn't Tommy John, but his surgery. I don't know what it didn't clarify what the surgery was, but it apparently took off 8 miles off his fastball. So that'll do it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah. If you think of a bar fight too, I can only imagine glass bottles.
I mean, there's a whole bunch of things.
There's so many, like.
And yeah, so it says his fastball dropped, like as I mentioned, and then he never made it above double-A ball, and then he retired in 2000. So there's one guy for you for baseball, I guess.
Yeah. Well, what sport have we missed? We got.
Well, I think we got all of them.
We got all of them. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. Do we do? Bo Jackson's kind of NFL too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
multi-sport.
I'm trying to think NFL. Is there like any other notable guys though?
Gosh, I'm trying to think.
Yeah, there's not as many.
Well, Andrew Luck, that and RG3, those two come to mind.
No, that's a good one.
Oh, Calvin Johnson.
Yeah, I would.
Calvin Johnson kept going.
I would argue RG
because he was in his prime. I think.
I would argue RG3 too.
Mm-hmm.
Had he not played that playoff game,
yeah, it's
I mean, I know you probably would have lost that game, but I would have rather had a quarterback intact for next decade than a playoff game. Yeah. I'm just saying. And I remember
he was electrifying as a rookie too.
Oh, he was great.
He showed shades of like him at Baylor was insane.
Yeah.
No, like so we talked about quarterbacks struggling right out the gate. Him and Luck pretty much came in like they were really good from start to finish. That RG3 the first year in particular though, but I remember watching the game live. He got hurt the first time, and they left him in the game, and then his knee gave out the second time. I was like, oh, it's over. And I said with his skill, the way he plays, he's never going to be the same player again. And like, sure enough, he never was the same player, and he was pretty much regulated to a backup quarterback. So it was one of those things. I hated to see that. And Andrew Luck too. Some of those Colts teams he was on the first few years, I mean, they made the playoffs, but
their offensive line,
it was a joke.
It was just, they doomed him to failure, honestly.
And like they really,
did.
They really didn't put a top to bottom like offense and defense. They really didn't put a good team around him until like towards the end of his career.
Yeah,
and then by that time it was too late.
Yeah,
so that's another what if too. I mean, maybe they win a Super Bowl. Like if he continues to play football, like you just don't know.
I feel bad for some of these quarterbacks though. Like
they take so much punishment. Oh my gosh,
it's ridiculous.
It's
like the Jets last year, like Joe Flacco, like
Mike White.
They were forced to run around because that line was trash. And then you had like Joe Burrow. He literally that could have took years off of his career. Like the injury he had his first year.
No, he came back. That's credit to him though. But like it's one of those things. You mentioned the Jets in particular. They've been in quarterback purgatory for like 50 years, and I think it's interesting you mentioned that. And I think it's no coincidence that the Colts post Luck, if you look at the quarterbacks they've had, whether it was Jacoby Brissett,
not the same.
not even close. Nick Foles, Matt Ryan, Carson Wentz. I mean, it was just the list went on, dude. And honestly, I know they drafted Anthony Richardson this year, and like he's one of those guys. The best way I can describe him, I don't know if you heard who Anthony Richardson is.
He's the Florida QB, right?
So he's like boom or bust. So like he's either going to be like a great player or he's going to be terrible.
Yeah, high ceiling, maybe a lower floor than some of the other guys.
I guess my thing is he's probably not going to start this year, and they'll probably have Gardner Minshew start, I guess, for most of the year. We'll see how that plays out, though. But going back to the Jets, though, like they've been in quarterback purgatory for like forever. And, like, I can't tell you how many quarterbacks they've missed in the draft, whether it's been Mark Sanchez, Zach Wilson's now on that
Josh
list.
Allen.
We're we're talking about quarterbacks like they missed the boat on.
Oh, he thought he meant like guys they could have drafted.
Oh, well, I mean they could have drafted Josh,
yeah.
but no, I'm talking about guys they drafted like that didn't pan.
Oh, okay. I thought you were talking about quarterbacks I missed.
You can look at that either way.
Well, no, that's a fair point.
But you said Mark Sanchez. Right?
Sam Darnold, like guys, they just flamed out, and like whether it was because of the environment around them, whether it was because of the coaches, I don't know. The fact is they just didn't produce as they were expected to, being high draft picks.
Geno Smith too.
Yeah, I mean,
but he's doing good on Seattle now.
Yeah, but his first 10 years are like, yeah,
and I just think, I don't know, like, we can talk football, I guess, for a second, though, but we never really talked about it, though, so we didn't really talk about Aaron Rodgers to the Jets, so I just want to get, like, your take on that. Like, I don't think it's going to work. I don't.
Here's my thought on it. He got some steppers as receivers with Garrett Wilson coming into his next year. Who'd they get? Lazard too, right?
They got Alan Lazard, yes.
And I mean, here's the thing: like they actually drafted a good. I forgot his name, but they drafted a good lineman. They got Carter Warren from Pitt. I mean, you draft Abanikanda too. That's my Pitt bias showing here right now. But anyways, like they at least addressed their line, and he has more pieces here than he did last year.
Definitely. And
let's get real, like. Their defense, the Jets' defense is something. Like it's actually, they have one of the better secondaries in the league. Last year, if you look at their defense, how it ranked compared to other teams, they were top half of the league. So, me personally, I like it a lot. Honestly, I think that if they were a team hovering around the playoffs last year, and you add those pieces this year, I think it's only going to help them, not hurt them. Because like, even like, what is he, 38, 39?
Yeah,
38. If they almost made the playoffs with a rotation of Mike White, Zach Wilson, and Joe Flacco, if they were this close to making it last year, what are they going to do with Aaron Rodgers? Even though he is old, I'd still rather Rodgers than this quarterback.
So here's what I'll say to that. So I agree with everything you said, but I will say this. Aaron Rodgers, I understand the talent is a lot better in New York than it was in Green Bay. He is coming off the worst year of his career, first of all, and then two, like, you don't know when a quarterback's going to drop off. We saw Russell Wilson last year. I mean, he was elite all those years, and then last year, for whatever reason, he was terrible. And you can whatever you want to attribute to, the fact remains he was not good. And I think going to New York, from Green Bay from New York, is a huge jump. And Aaron Rodgers is a guy that doesn't like to really comes across as not like the media.
Yep.
So if he starts losing games in New York, bro, it's all bets are off. Like they're going to tear him apart. And I think. The thing was, you mentioned the Jets they would have been a playoff team had they got good quarterback play last year. The thing was, people, like, before that season started, no one thought the Jets were going to be a playoff team. And then their defense, surprised us, and they were really good. And, they had Garrett Wilson. They had, Breece Hall before he got hurt. Like, they have talent. I'm not doubting that. It's just, like, now this year it's different. Now we're not talking just playoffs. We're talking about making a deep run, even maybe getting to the Super Bowl. So I feel like expectations are going to be sky high. I just don't know. Forget that. The AFC is just loaded with like teams that are really good.
Their division in particular too.
Yeah, I mean, like the Patriots aren't going to be a pushover. I know people. Oh, those are the worst team. Well, they're still going to be competitive, dude. And then you got the Bills. The Dolphins, if Tua stays healthy, not to mention the Chiefs, Chargers, the Raiders got Jimmy G, the Broncos might, if Russell Wilson can get good, they might be back in it too. Like Ravens, Bengals, I mean, even the Steelers and Browns, like literally every team, with the exception of like Houston and maybe the Colts, have like a legit shot at the playoffs. And like, so it's not going to be like easy. And now I will say, I do think they can be a playoff team, but right now, I don't think it's set in stone though. And I think. Another thing too is you get a new quarterback, new system. I know they got Hackett, so there'll be some familiarity with the offense for Rodgers, but you're on the same page, getting on the same page with a guy like Garrett Wilson. I know he has rapport with Lazard too, but those other guys too, that takes time. That's not an overnight thing, and I think they're going to start out slow. I do think they'll probably play better towards the end of the year, but whether it's enough, I don't know. I mean, I know it's way too early, but that's just my perspective.
I will say this though, like I know for some quarterbacks it takes a little bit to get into it, but we're talking Aaron Rodgers here, like one of the, in my opinion, like one of the GOATs. And like I just think personally, like if you even look at the Dolphins last year, they had a hot start last year, and they got a whole new receiving core with Tua, and they were able to produce, and they made the playoffs. So my thing with you were saying all the AFC talent, they're all going to beat each other. And what that means is, you're going to see multiple teams here and there, dropping games here. But my thought is I think the cream's going to rise to the top. I think that Aaron Rodgers, at the end of the day, when you break it down, I think that he's good enough to overcome these other teams like that, just because he's done it before. Like, even last year, they were not, despite the team not having a marquee wide receiver, despite him having his worst year, they were still knocking on the door of the playoffs.
Yeah.
And it's just crazy that I think that momentum's going to carry, because I still think he showed shades that he's still a really good quarterback, and he's a smart quarterback too. I just think that I think it's going to be a big jump, because I think the Jets are just a better all-around team than Green Bay.
In my opinion on that, I think it's definitely worth it in New York for New York to take a chance on it. I mean, I think, they're probably realistically not going to probably win the Super Bowl, but I think it makes them interesting, it makes them competitive, and it at least gives them a fighting chance. They haven't had a big name or good quarterback in so long, and I think, it's definitely worth giving him a shot, I think.
Well, yeah, I agree with that. But my thing is it's just I've seen how he is off the field.
Yeah.
Past 3 years in particular, when things don't go his way, and that's the biggest concern for me. He needs to be all in if I want to take the Jets seriously. He needs to be all in, and so far he seems to indicate that he is all in. But the whole disinterested. I think part of the reason with last year why he wasn't as good is because he just was disinterested and probably didn't want to be there anymore. I think that was part of it too. But I think this year, I think he'll be a little bit more. He'll be better this year. I will agree with that. Yeah. But I don't know. We'll see after year one, because who else he reminds me a lot of Brett Favre. That's all.
That's what.
That's all I'm gonna say. Hopefully, Brett Favre was good with New York for the first half, and then you got hurt.
Yeah,
it fell apart. Not saying the same thing would happen with Rodgers, but I just think you never know what you're gonna get with off seasons.
With him.
If let's say if the Jets have a terrible year for some reason.
I could get ugly.
If they don't if they make the playoffs, they lose the first game. I don't know. We'll see. I want the Jets to succeed, bro, because it's they haven't been to a playoffs in 10 years.
But being realistic, too,
And their best quarterback they've had is Joe Namath.
Yeah.
And they've really had no one else since, really.
I feel it's going to be really boom or bust. It's either they're going to, pull, get a Super Bowl, or it's just going to be really bad. I feel there's no in between. I think it's just going to be really boom or bust.
My thing, I'll throw it to Tony, though. My thing was, if you had him for 2 or 3 years, I'd be like, you know what? I like that trade. But the fact is, you don't know if we'll have him past this year, because if you're hinting at retirement, whether
he's done
whether he's being being legit or not, I don't know. But when someone says they're retiring, I have to take a pause and I don't know. But like I said, it is Aaron Rodgers. He is coming off back-to-back MVPs, so I do have to honor that and give him respect in that front, though. But it's just one of those things if you don't have if he flames out year one or he retires or it just doesn't work out, now the Jets are back to square one, because you're gonna have guys that are on rookie contracts like Garrett Wilson, Sauce Gardner. He's turning into elite corner, by the way.
The buffalo sauce they had from Buffalo Wild Wings, the Sauce Gardner sauce.
That is a sauce.
Fire, but keep going.
But you're gonna have guys that so they have this they have this window now. So those guys are eventually gonna get paid too. So it's just one of those things you got to be careful. If you don't have that quarterback too, and like I said, the quarterbacks too in the AFC. If the Jets strike out on Aaron Rodgers, you're looking at them being pretty screwed, man. Because Mahomes, Jackson, Burrow, Allen, I can go Herbert, I can go on Lawrence, I can go on for the entire podcast about all the quarterbacks in the AFC. Heck, even the Colts and Texans have upside with their quarterbacks. I'll even throw in the Titans with Will Levis, even though I thought that was a ridiculous pick. To another story for another podcast, though. But the point remains, the AFC has literally, you can say every team has a quarterback that they think they like. You can make that argument. There's not one team in the AFC right now that has a quarterback say, we want to move off him right now. So I think it's one of those things. They better, I hope for the fans' sake too. I hope that it works out though. So
I will say this too, to his point too, a boom or bust. But and he said he likes how they took a chance. I agree, because it's the Jets. Yeah. They've proved time and time again that they have not been able to draft right quarterback wise. like Zach Wilson, I'm not denying he's a great athlete and all that, but his reads just aren't there yet. And he's just not reading the game right. I think you have to take the risk because they've proved time and time again that they can't get that marquee quarterback, and if it means having to go, completely out of pocket and go all in on Aaron Rodgers, I'm for it, because here's the thing, we've seen how tight, how quick windows can close too as well.
Yeah.
I think they're at a point now where you're going to start seeing receivers like Wilson start to, really come into his own, especially knowing that he's going to be in his second year, right? Second year? Yeah, his second year, and your defense they're a young defense too, so I think getting him now is the best time to do this with everyone coming into their own. So I like the chance, but one thing, I don't know if we've really talked about it, but we have. The Jets are just a cursed franchise. That's just what it is. Both Jets, the Winnipeg Jets and the New York Jets.
Yeah, I mean, that was pretty much all. I just want to throw that out there as for a topic. 'Cause I know, like you mentioned, the whole GOAT thing on ESPN. They hammer the Aaron Rodgers thing ad nauseum. So I've tried to at least stay away from that conversation talk. But I figured since we were just talking NFL, I just might as well get into it though real quickly though. But
can we do this?
Okay.
Who is the sports GOAT?
Oh,
I'm not talking about just one sport, but who's the GOAT of GOATs?
Oh, you can go first.
In my personal opinion, it's Michael Jordan.
Yeah,
I mean, he just the brand, but he just everyone's watched the Last Dance documentary. That's amazing stuff, but he just doesn't seem real. Even just watching video of his games, it's almost like he's levitating. I couldn't imagine even meeting him or seeing him in person. He just doesn't seem real to me. He's just he's just one of those guys. He doesn't seem real. He's a movie character. It's just Yeah,
it's crazy too with Michael Jordan. Even if you look at the years before he got Pippen, the first year they made the playoffs, I think he had 44 a game. The first year they got eliminated, it was crazy. But he would have only been better now though with how quick the game is.
Yeah, I think he probably would have put up even better numbers, and the game was just so much more physical back then. With now, I feel it's a little bit soft, with the fouls and everything.
I can't think against the bad boys.
Yeah, he would get so many more calls and just free points off of free throws alone.
Well, look at James Harden for example. He averaged 37 the
just
one year.
Half of his points every game. It seemed were free throws.
I agree with you. It has to be Michael Jordan. I think, like you said, he's at the point now where he's considered God status. And as a guy that grew up in the church, I don't really I don't really subject to that conversation though, but but the point remains he's highly regarded in the sports community. Just forget the NBA.
Yeah,
I mean, when you think everyone who, no matter who you ask, it's MJ. Almost every person I talk to thinks it's MJ, and just the impact he on the game of basketball. I mean, his outreach was well beyond this. It was pop culture. It was globally. The dude was a star. He's still relevant now.
Yeah,
after
crazy.
30 years.
That just shows you.
He's still relevant now, and he's a billionaire. He owns a franchise. He has his own shoe. Jordan, he's never gonna be broke. It's just insane. The dude has really made it. He's probably the most. He's the most iconic. He's the most synonymous. He's the most famous athlete, probably. Yeah. Obviously in America, in American history, sports history, but globally he's up there too. I know soccer is kind of a whole different beast, but
he's also another what if.
Why is that?
He went to play baseball for 2 years.
That is true.
What if he didn't? Do they 8-peat? I think human element.
No.
Okay, human element. No. I think the Rockets get one, but I think they win 7. I think they win one of those years.
They probably do, but then I would have to think they probably don't three-peat that. They probably don't three-peat again though. Because there's no way your body. We saw with the Warriors when they went to 4 straight finals. There's no way your body they would have had to slip 1 or 2 years in between.
They would have. I think they would have slipped, but I definitely think they could have had another championship.
No, I agree.
I think so. I think they would have had 7. I think they would have had 7, not 6.
You mentioned the Last Dance. Had they stayed for another year or two, they probably could have won another championship.
It would just be really hard to imagine anyone ever in any sport coming close to what he accomplished, and I just couldn't imagine like anyone ever even coming like close to him like in any sport. It's just he does not seem real to me. I don't know about you guys.
No, I agree. He almost doesn't seem he seems fake. Like he's not even like a real person, like you said. But it's one of those things.
Even, like watching The Last Dance, though, like the way he talks too, it's like he's not real. I don't know.
It's like he's perfect. Like
No, I think it's a fair assessment, though. I do.
But I agree. Like I think it could go either way. If you're going accomplishments, though, just for like the 10 Hart trophies and like just the stats, no one's ever gonna come. Like I think like we've seen LeBron get close to MVPs, and we just saw now Jokic could have won his 3rd MVP. We could see his MVP, get tied. But the thing with Wayne Gretzky, McDavid, I don't know. Like 10 Hearts, like I don't know if anyone's ever gonna reach what Gretzky did. I know for sure, like the 2,857 points. I don't think anyone's touching that.
Yeah, obviously the game just evolved so much. I think obviously like with the goalies equipment and stuff back then, it's so much easier to score. But I mean, still, the numbers are just.
The numbers
astronomical.
Are crazy. Yeah, it's crazy.
It doesn't look real, and that's another thing. Just doesn't look real. His numbers.
Yeah. No, but seriously, for you guys though, like I agree though, Jordan. Like I think, but also for football, Tom Brady, 7 championships.
Yeah.
I think if we're going for sports goods for each one, I'd go Brady, Wayne Gretzky. Michael Jordan, and then baseball, I'd go Barry Bonds.
Yeah, I would say with Tom Brady, the only issue with him is he doesn't have the global reach. See, the thing about Jordan, the NFL is it's like insanely popular in the United States, but it's not as popular worldwide. It's still popular, but if you compare it to soccer, even baseball, I think baseball too, and basketball too, I think those sports are more popular out of state than football, like American football.
Yeah, and I feel like Jordan really helped. Like, obviously, basketball is always big, but, like when he played in the NBA, like, he just made it so much more global. Like, I remember, like, in the documentary, especially The Last Dance, like, when they went to, like, I think it was China, like, it was crazy how many people actually cared just because of him. Like, he literally, like, made the sport what it is, honestly.
You can argue that he's the reason why the athletes are getting paid this much now, because without China, like China has such a big deal within the NBA market, honestly. And like even if you look at Derrick Rose, who we were just talking about, like he goes over to China and he's like their favorite player and stuff like that with the D-Rose shoes and all that kind of stuff. So like you can make the argument that he's like the best ambassador you could think of.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I had a hard time coming up with someone better, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Were you yawning there? I couldn't tell. Yeah.
Dang, it's been a while. We've been on for a while, just talking about so much. Yeah. We could talk here all day.
Oh, we really could. Yeah, but I did I brought it up to Chase off podcast. And I remember I was talking about like just announcing who we'd think win like each award for NHL. Okay. So would you want to do a rundown of that?
Yeah, that'd be great.
Would you want to do one too, Justin?
Nah, we'll just do you two.
Well, no. You're gonna do one though. Who's the Hart winner?
Jeff Carter.
No, Jeff Carter. Okay, I agree. I think
no. Jeff Carter had a really good year.
If you think about how quick he skates, he's so fast.
It's borderline Gretzky level.
I really think. Well, if you think about it. He won a cup in L.A. and Gretzky never did.
Whoa!
So
that makes him a better player.
So maybe he's the GOAT.
That makes him.
Whoa! That's blasphemy.
No, I'll answer it. I mean, I'll go with McDavid though. I mean, I'll be hard pressed not to say McDavid. I mean, who else want to say Sidney?
No, really.
Like seriously.
Yeah, it's Connor McDavid. I think he got screwed last. I mean. Austin Matthews, 60 goals. Okay, cool. But, like, he had 122 points last year, McDavid.
Yeah, I mean,
so I think this year he just proved that, like, if it's not unanimous, I swear, if one person says, oh, it's Linus Ullmark, like, I'm just going to be really mad.
There's always that one person, though.
There's always that one person.
Yeah,
they vote for someone else, and they have a terrible reason why. It's, we don't want them to be unanimous. Like,
it's all narrative and, like, just, wishful, like, biased thinking. But, yeah, it was a crazy year for him, but I mean, every year is crazy for Connor McDavid. Easy to say. People don't realize, like, he almost averaged, like, 2 points a game, like, people don't realize how hard that is to do at any level, let alone at the NHL level. Like, even, like, at your local beer league, like, that's just really rare to see someone put up 2 points a game. Like, people don't realize how crazy that is. Like, it's just not human.
He's the first person to have like over 150 points since Lemieux.
Yeah, Lemieux.
And that's in the 95-96 season, which was more high scoring than today.
I mean, you can definitely make a realistic argument. He's the most talented hockey player ever. Even with Gretzky with his numbers, it's just, the game's different. And just the eye test alone of hockey now, like, I've had the pleasure of watching him when he played for Erie Otters.
Oh, yeah.
And then also when he played now on Edmonton, and him live, like you can like feel the speed. It's crazy. I don't know how to describe it. It's crazy.
But how does he gets through the neutral zone so fast?
Like his edge work and just like explosiveness. Like, you can't explain it. You have to see it live. Like, it just feels different than anyone else I've ever seen skate.
And I never thought I'd see someone with better edge work than Sidney Crosby.
Yeah.
And like, he's just like,
they're different styles.
Crosby's like Crosby has the edge on McDavid with back checking. I think he's a better
he's definitely better defensively, where I feel like McDavid's more just worried about scoring and helping his team in that department, whereas Crosby's probably the best, like, all around, just is so good, well-rounded, and good at literally every aspect of the game. Whereas McDavid's more, like, just offensively explosive and just, dynamic.
Yeah, that's the thing, too. Like, Crosby, like, how we were talking about Crosby's prime. It's like, it's tough now to compare the two because his prime was, like, where McDavid's scoring the 153. Crosby was hurt like the majority of the time at that age, so it's like it's now tough to compare their first 8 seasons or whatever. But I think even if Crosby was healthy, like 153 is just next level.
It's just stupid. It's just stupid.
Like I thought like Kucherov putting up 128 was crazy, and then now and then even like Pastrnak had 121 this year too. So it's crazy. But I definitely want to move on to the Norris. And for me, it's Erik Karlsson. Yeah. I have a stat here. Brian Leetch was the last person to score over 100 points as a defenseman in 90-91, and Erik Karlsson is 101. Like,
again, just as a defenseman, putting up that numbers. Obviously, their team wasn't the best this year, and what a bounce back! Like, I know people started really getting on his case, and in my opinion, I think it was due to injury. Like, I remember the one playoff, he was literally playing with like a broken foot. Like, it in my mind, it was definitely due to injury why he wasn't performing up to expectations, and it shows by this season. Gosh,
Justin, who you got for your Norris?
Chris Letang, baby.
Chris Letang.
I mean, I'm gonna roll with the audience here. I don't watch enough hockey to give up, but I trust your judgment that Erik Karlsson should win it. I would trust your judgment.
Fair enough. I think if Kel McCarr didn't get hurt, he'd have like an opportunity. Definitely. But like, I don't think he would have had 101 this year. That's the thing. So it's Karlsson for me. I think that's another one. It's almost unanimous. And then I was talking about it before too. Vezina, I'd go with Allmark.
Same on this one.
Yeah,
they're all
191
pretty
goals
obvious
against
for me so far.
And then Calder, you got to go with Matty Beniers too.
Same. I mean, in my opinion, all of the awards pretty much are pretty obvious who's gonna win. But I'd say the finalists are kind of like who they chose were kind of debatable, but. The winners, I think, are pretty locked. All of the awards.
No, I want to ask this real quickly though. Is there like a hockey version of like an all NHL team? Is that a thing or not so much?
So all-star or
so at the end of the year, NFL and NBA or even MLB now they have like an all team. Like they have like the best players at the end of the year.
The closest thing I would say is the all-star games, and then
they obviously don't have anything like that. They used to have.
Yeah, and then like obviously like. They used to always have, like, the Olympics and the World Cup where, like, the best players for their respective country would play. But, that's... I know they were rumoring, like, doing that again, but I don't know. Where, like, the best players in the world play in it, whereas now it's, more...
Okay.
McDavid trying to make it happen. He was talking about it,
It would be awesome to see, especially with, I think, it used to be a bigger gap, as we were talking earlier, with, like, Canada and everyone else, whereas now it's... I feel like some of the even like not the U.S. like other countries like Sweden and Czech and Russia are all getting better too. So I think it'd be even better now than it used to be, more competitive at least.
Fair enough.
And I do want to add one thing, like before we start to wrap up, but I'm gonna make my 2024 Calder selection now.
Oh boy.
And this, I know there's a lot can happen. Like there's
well into the
injuries.
future
There's
I wonder
like
who he's gonna say.
I'm gonna say Connor Bedard's gonna win it.
Whoa.
Yeah, and, and if you just look at 23 points in 7 games in the World Juniors tournament, like,
And then-
not even McDavid put that up.
And then like for his playoffs this year in the WHL, like I don't know, maybe you guys aren't as familiar with it, but
He's on the
like
Virginia Pats,
I've
yeah.
watched the WHL live. Like it's really good hockey. Like those guys are future pros, and he's just making it like looks like child's play. Honestly, like I think
It's
I
up
want
there
to
with the
say
OHL too.
yeah, I want to say he averaged almost 3 points a game in the playoffs, and yeah, he gave his team a chance, but they lost in a game 7. But he was literally carrying them like. Gosh, man.
And his wrister, like it's
Yeah,
like
his-
Ovi level, honestly.
It's like a Matthews Ovechkin hybrid. It's something I haven't seen before. I've never seen him live. I was talking to my brother the other day. Like, whenever he's on next year, I gotta see him live. I gotta see what the hype's all about.
yeah, I'm seeing him live. That's no doubt.
I might have to tag along. Honestly, I'm not a hockey guy, but I would
Maybe
tag
we
along.
should go to a game together.
Yeah, no, I'm
Good
down.
idea.
I still got my student rush, you know.
Wait, seriously?
Yeah.
How's that work?
I have my email still. I just
Oh,
put in
that
the
is
email,
true.
John. And we're
Oh,
set.
wow.
Yeah.
Well, let's see. I still have my email too. Do those ever expire?
Well, Luke. Well, here's the thing. Luke's going to Duquesne next year. My younger brother.
Hey,
so-
hey! There you
My
go.
brother's named Luke too. That's funny.
Oh, that's it.
Oh,
hey, you got it.
oh,
I
4
love
more
the Bi-
years,
I
baby.
love the Bible names. Luke, like that's a
Yeah.
great name.
4 more
Yeah.
years, baby. Student rush. Let's go.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's do it.
You mind if I hop on that gravy train though?
Oh yeah,
I'm just joking.
But yeah, I do want to say one thing before we go. Next time we do a podcast, I've been saying it for the past couple podcasts now. I want to do a LeBron versus McDavid thing because Evander Kane said that McDavid is doing things that LeBron can never do. So I definitely want to talk about that eventually.
Okay.
That's interesting. Yeah.
We might have
Interesting
who's our? I forget his name. Or
Nick?
no, Nicholas. Yeah,
Nick Powell.
yeah, Nick Powell.
Yeah, he was on last week.
Yeah, if we're going to bring you back, we have to have him in the studio.
Oh
too.
yeah. I'll tell him my idea. I'll give the idea. So we were gonna be.
No. Let's save it for a future episode. Let's surprise the audience.
All right, you heard it from
Yes.
Count Stuku yourself. We're going to surprise you guys.
Yes, it's a unique take on sports debate or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think that's a good start.
Well, we started with the quick hitters. We just had a long hitter, so yeah.
Long hitter.
Long,
Long.
like,
But
like
I mean,
Babe Ruth in this joint.
Babe Ruth calling the shots here, baby. I don't know. Do you have anything else to add before we wrap up? Any of you guys?
Yeah, I think we covered a lot of good stuff. I mean, that was definitely really good content, and I had a lot of fun so far.
Glad you had fun. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for coming on. Yeah, we
Thank you guys so much for having me.
Absolutely.
I mean, this was so much fun, man.
Yeah, no, we do this every week, so it's so much fun for us too. We'd love to have you on again. So
Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, it's an honor to be on.
And you said one more thing to add. Well, Dustin Brown has a statue in L.A., so that's all I gotta say.
Okay then.
It's very random, but I'm just saying he won a cup in L.A. Gretzky never did. So Eddie would be so mad right now if I started doing
we can call him up.
I tried to get. He needs to come on I tried to get him on this one.
I tried to get on for like an NBA playoff, and he just never did. I was like, come on, dude.
Well, yeah, I'm gonna show him the audio.
I mean, what is he doing that's so important? It's not like he's
probably lifting like 500 pounds.
I mean,
or something.
you can lift at night. You don't have to lift during the day, bro.
You can wear sunglasses at night.
You have all day. You have all day to lift. And I feel like he's ducking us. He doesn't want to. He can't handle the smoke.
Oh, he's ducking me because he knows I'll just troll him the whole time.
That's I don't blame him for that part.
Yeah.
Though.
So. Yeah, no, that's all I got though.
That's our podcast for this week, though.
Let them know where you can watch us.
Oh, yes. I always do that. You can find our show on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, wherever you get your podcast from. Just search the Rossetti and Stewart Podcast. For the whole gang here, I'm Justin Stewart. We'll do it again in the near future, folks. Have a great rest of your day. Bye.